Zobe Sanje Riva Dan Shazon Demban Devariship. Jiden Chemba Juvon de Verkano Juvanana. Tadam Benam Jedumba Sanje Jumden Dem. Shaja Tuba La Chasan no Chudo Jemsochi. Demba Jumden Dem the Jinshe Kwan Dachun Bayan. Zobe Sanje Riva Dan Shazon Dem. Devariship and Jiden Chemba Juvon de Verkano Ju. Lana Meba Hadan Jedum. Sanje Jumden de Bejawa Shaja Tuba. Chasen lo chudo jiaosu xiewo denpa ajunde. Dishin xieban zhachunpa yangda fan zobe sanje riba. Shazun denpa devari xieban jiden chenpa jiwode. Kalo jiwa lana meban lada menam jede. Sanje jimden de bejawa shaja tuba la chasen lo chudo jiaosu xiewo. Kaze kanyen sowo jedam zaya sajen dena menam tumra. Nani jiden dena choche son dese keba jona chasen. 남다 공화초도 소상과 이제자도 세계 공부 자반 제된 som나라 매번 공부 초년 전화 차 전전된 바치면 다베제 산도 자와 전화 차 뉴제처나 세바 숨마제 냠에 천전 전화 차 공부 도제 체된 바 탐제 전도 선남의 연된자소지 대신셔나 차 답은 되셔 태워 개행에 손대 주신 제도도 너무 좋죠 신규 전화 전화서 전에 들어가는 Lama Tsongkapha ne shinge tamba yende. Gendyo la ya cha zang deba chen yang me che. Gewa penson so ba che rangi sembe yang. Tene sanje tenba yin karma rabi ma me gyoma se ba chubru da melam lo da chen da. Duje chandam dedar da sonam diye tumje se ba ye komon tum ne genje da de. Gada nada chiwe la jube sibe so den do wan jube re sho.
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one beyond. The full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sukhata, Lord of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened being, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the superior one of Chandrakirti, I prostrate and make offerings and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one without you, the full destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sukhata, Lord of the world, supreme guide of beings to be gained, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the superior one of the Shakya, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one called beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sukhata, Lord of the world, supreme guide of beings to be gained, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the superior from the Shakya, I prostrate and make offerings and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans, you were born of this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With the pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom motion like golden mountain, flame that blazes in the 3 worlds, window of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds around, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one come to thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from tension, the virtue which frees one from the lower elements, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated will also show the path to liberation. The holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community intending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, See the conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings obtain the break of all sin, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from emotional suffering of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Shana Soje Shana Lan Shanju Padu Dane Jazu Dagi Jazo Jibu Tsuma Ndola Penche Sanje Juba Juba Sanje Shana Soje Shana Chanju Padu Dane Jazu Dagi Jazo Jibu Tsuma Ndola Penche Sanje Juba Juba Sanje Shana Soje Shana Chanju Padu Dane Jazu Dagi Jazo Jibu Tsuma Ndola Penche Sanje Juba Juba
I go for refuge until I am light to the Buddha, Lama Tsongkaphas. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am light to the Buddha, Lama Tsongkaphas. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am light to the Buddha, Lama Tsongkaphas. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tamje Jambala Cha Zulon de Sanje Jumden de and the Shisha Banda Jumaya Zobe Sanje Riba Dan Shazun de Mandevare Shaban Jiden Jamba Jumon de Kano Jumana Megan Hadam Belam Jeta Sanje Jumden de Son, the Shisha Watin, the Sonam da Gudam, Gaveza Wanama Chumis, Severa de Gemba. Sonam Jederam Jishi, Peja Sambana Jeta, Sana Gemata, Juyerima, Tomotona, Mitimba. Tebe Mevana Longomra, Shadow Sigim, Toma, Sinja Tamji Tamba, Chanju was Samban, Jaya, Pabeka Sana Jaya, Yangana, Jetta, Jetabi. Shepada Meva was a Yemiju, so number of Yanyam, Gujeta, Chomiju, Kutsuma, so that Ganyava Mago, Sumavata, to Nena, to Pubata, to come on them, Cajun, Divana machine, the Java Yon, don't want to Seva layer to the Chuo and give a Yezio to Mandeva to Majumba. Tadachum was on Jum, then the Jishel on the airborne, Yangana, the Yama Banjaka. Semja Tamjana Sivasala Shubate and the Sanjay Jum, which is the Yama. Tambe Shana Toma gave up, I gave a Toma gave up to answer for Senders of Majeva, Yozo, Yozo, Taba, Yozo, Chow. Yandaba one name ever to Sheba, what the Teton, the Tayo, Kevan, the Sozo, and the Timberch. Jim then the Yen was to be children, one never to Yabachu, so they sent to the Drovach, Timber, to button them. Temba you watch about Tabachim, Gilelia, never sugar, river sugar, temperature. Temperature, you were charged with you. Son of the Beji, she and you, the Joan Chipman, Kundo and Chipellas, you were Chimbo. Kangi over tension long or when you see your message. Bemet la chance. So we are in the 254. 254, right? So objection to the assertion that worldly perspective invalidate the refutation of arising from others. So I think this refutation of arising from others. So other than the psychic schools, all the Buddhist school thoughts. So I think they accept or kind of assert any effect. So once it arises from others. Body sprout arises from others because the body seeds, which is other than or different from the body sprout. Tomato is different from the tomato seeds. Yogurt is a different from milk. So they think that the arising from others is kind of reality. It is the fact. So the Prasangika school, the only one they're refuting. So there is nothing that really arises from others, because there is no effect that's different from its cause. There is no different from the past day. Right? So barley sprout is no different from the barley seed. Tomato is no different from the tomato seed. Yogurt is no different from the milk. So then, previously there was a lot of arguments, and at the end, the opponent says, in the conventionally or the mundanely, this was the valid. So arising from others is accepted in the mundane perspective, right? Mundane perspective. So the Prasangika school says, so mundane, conventional knowledge is not really accepting arising from others. So Chandrakirti's root text says, if ordinary perceptions constitute the valid knowledge, the suchness will be seen by the common folk. So what need for the Aryas then? And what need for Arya's path? Yet it's wrong to take the foolish mind as valid as well. Says one, right? Number queen the Tamjin Jidin Thomas Semen Bimba teachers, the Conan Jidin metals. So ordinary perceptions constitute valid knowledge. Suchness will be seen by common folks. So if now they're saying if the conventional knowledge has access or it has access to the realized suchness or the emptiness, then so every ordinary sentient beings must have known the emptiness if ordinary perceptions is the valid, right? Because ordinary perceptions also trying to understand the reality. If they have direct access to the suchness of the reality as it is, then all ordinary people must have known the emptiness of the ultimate truth. So which means ordinary perceptions are not able to understand the emptiness. So what need for the Arya then? Then why do you need the Arya, Arya attainment or Arahat or noble wisdom or the noble attainment? Jiden Tön and Jiden Tanya Kete Senan Jiden Kinne Gurus. So yes, it's wrong to take the foolish mind as valid as well. Since ordinary perceptions has no validity in every respect, no worldly perspective can invalidate the context of the suchness. So what is saying that ordinary perceptions has no validity in every respect. So no worldly perspective can invalidate context of the suchness. So whatever, conventionally known is not, is never really rejected by any conventional knowledge. So for example, external object. So this is an ordinary perceptions, accepted. There is the external object. Color is external object. Sound is external object. The smell is external object. And the texture of the tactilities are external object. And then there's an external object as the four elements. So once the ordinary perceptions, they accepted to be valid, and there is no ordinary perception against that. So right. So now what is saying, what is the implication, right? The implication of that is they're born from others if the ordinary perceptions accepted to be valid. And then why the ordinary people says, when they plant the tree, mango trees, they plant the seed of the mango trees, when the tree has come out from that seed, become the very big tree. And why ordinary people say, pointing at that very tree, this is I planted. If the seed and the tree are different, so they are not going to point that tree. This I planted. And the mother pointing her child says, mother don't point her child. This other person is born from me. Or this baby is giving birth by others. So I give birth to the child. There is no concept of the baby born from others. Right. So now they say, if the born from others is something found to be, accepted to be valid in the mundane world, and the mundane, there is no mundane, the perceptions that could against that could invalidate that. So which means mundanely not really accepting the born from others. So who accept the born from others? The philosophical thinking, intellectual thinking, like mind-only school and Siddhantika school, Yogasika school thinks that, yogurt is not milk. Yesterday it was milk, today is the yogurt. Yogurt is not milk, therefore the yogurt is different from the milk. So this intellectually create this concept. Barley sprout born from others. Barley seed is different from the barley sprout. So if you continue with this kind of, invalidating this otherness, then you may, have, it kind of, you may have not really able to understand the emptiness of I, because the I always exists different from body, different from feeling, different from the perceptions, because this is my perception, this is my body, this is my feeling, so my and mine, so not me. So you should self, or the person should remain different from the body and feeling and the perceptions. If the self, the person is, remain always different from the aggregates. So what is the difference? The non-Buddhist school said that Atma is independent from the aggregates. So this is saying that since ordinary perceptions has no validity in every respect, no worldly perspective can invalidate the context of the suchness. Now the opponent might wish to raise objections from raise objections from perspective of the everyday world to the repetition of arising from others. On the ultimate level, so arising from others on the ultimate level. So had we here admitted that perceptions of the everyday world were what's that? Authoritative, right? Yeah. In the sphere of inquiring into the nature of the suchness. Such objections might be appropriate, for it ordinary perceptions constitute a valid knowledge with respect to the suchness. Suchness will then be seen or directly realized by the common worldly folk. And given that these situations would have to have been true since beginning last time, so would then have to admit that the common people have eliminated ignorance. In that case, what need is there for the Aryas then? And who are others? So for direct realization of suchness, and what need is there then for seeking the Arya path? So there will be no point in doing so. So which means that if ordinary people, they all understands the suchness, they all understands the reality of the reality of their object, and why do they seek for Arya path? So there's no need for the noble wisdoms. There's no need for the path, because their perceptions are not really, has no ability to understand the realities. So which means objects they experience, they witness, and always, conceived through exaggerating or annihilating. So that's why the ordinary sentient being is. Right? Sentient beings, if sentient beings has direct access to reality, then what is need for the Arya path? Right? So Arya, I think it's needing for the Arya path is they are not really capable of understanding the realities. So then they have to find the Arya paths to gain the direct realization of the the ultimate truth of the phenomena. So now, this is the objects like, for example, color is ordinary sentient being has access to see the color, to understand the color, and the way they understand the color is ordinarily, right? So way they understand is ordinarily. Ordinarily means they only know, yes, the colors exist, but they do not know what is the nature of the color, how this really happened to be existing, what are the factors, so that that enabled color to be existing and perceived by the eye consciousness. The sentient beings do not see that kind of the ultimate truth. Right? So we can experience, we can directly perceive the smell and taste and the tactility, but we do not have the access of understanding how the tactilities is being exist. Yeah, so it's like almost like temperatures, the weather's temperatures. It's also like that. we experience, we understand that. But how this happened, we do not know. So therefore, we do not know what will be temperature tomorrow and day after tomorrow. And some people trying to mathematically try to understand that, and they weather forecast say this may be the 50% or 80%. 50% means, which means they don't know it at all. So they just say 50%. Like so half and half means they have no idea. Right?
So going back to that, there's something that they can perceive 50% of, but there's never the
50% is because they cannot really, say it's not going to happen. So they know they cannot predict it's not going to be, raise the temperature. So then that is the basis to project 50%. It may happen. So I just give 50% that. If the 50% is the real 50%, and it's for sure it's going to rain. Yeah, so it's 50%. At least, yeah. So 50% rain is we don't know, So this is our job. If I don't do the job, I don't get salary. So I just give 50% of that. So yeah, this is the ordinary perceptions. Realize things or understand things ordinarily. Invalidate the context of the suchness. Some taking this phrase, since ordinary perceptions has no validity in every respect, as a rejection of any notion of the valid cognitions, criticize these systems, the system of the Chandrakirtis, as an inferior traditions. Others citing the same reasons. Extol, right? Extol, it is an excellent systems. Both interpretations make assertions without properly understanding the standpoint of these masters. So the Sautrantic school, they are very serious. Sautrantic school, Vaibhashika school, they are very, very serious. So I say, why not? The barley sprout is different from the barley seed. Because from the size, from the shape, from the color, even from the time, it is different. So it kind of, if you continue to think that, because the time, they order, and, this time, this is the seed, and that times it turned into the sprout. So if they think it's because of the time, they are different. Because the size of that seed is much smaller, and the sprout is bigger, right, from the size. So then if that is different, then you say, yesterday myself and today myself is different. When I was thin, and then I become bigger, so I am different from that thin person, and I am different from my childhood, because there's a time difference. There's the size of the body's difference. There's the wrinkles, the difference. In that case, then criminal might say, I cannot be, charged, because that one who is committing crime, and today I'm different from that, right? So it's a kind of separate or difference in the time, in the separate time, separate, occasions, right? The event is not going to make the difference of the cause and effect. So this is why I say I'm no different from in my past life. I'm not different from my future life. And then for sure, the milk that is going to turn into yogurt tomorrow is, no different from today's milk. Today's milk is not going to, not different from the milk that turned into yogurt. So Siddhantic school or Vashika schools, there's a reason to propound the cause and effect as a different. So Prasangika school says, that the criteria to constitute the barley seed and sprout as a different is, then you can apply that to everything. So yesterday and today is different. Yourself, yesterday and today is different. And yogurt and milk is different. And then, so like, if you want to make the earring from the gold, and that earring is different from that gold. Every criminal is different from one is committing the crime. So then, in like for the individual, the person say, so in previous lives has committed the karma, the positive karma, negative karma. When this person experience the consequences of the karma, and this person is different from that person, and how do I really, how do I have to experience the consequences of the karma that I did not commit? So there's almost, when you've done the action, so you're no longer that person, you're different. So you should not be experiencing any consequences of the karma that you haven't committed yet, because you are different from the one that has committed the karma. So how, and after the lunch, how can you be full? The one that is eating is different from you, and he eats, and how can you be full? So two different persons, right? So the Prasangika school says even the ordinary perceptions, they're not ready to accept the barley seed and sprouts are different. So that because of the both parties, apparently they take the statement that worldly perspectives are never authoritative, right? In every respect, when it comes to suchness to means that valid cognitions cannot be accepted in any context, insofar as valid cognitions, its object are concerned. So these must be understood in the Chandrakirti systems as they are explained in the clear words. So where valid cognitions and their object are negated as existing by the virtue of essence and are presented instead as multi-defined, right? Mutually defined, I will expound more on this below. So which means now this is the Buddha Palitas, these arguments, I think started after Buddha Palitas make the commentary on Nagarjuna's text. So Baba Vivek raised the argument. He argued, how's that? From the Buddha Palitas. Buddha Palitas, specifically, they negating the otherness of the cause and effect. So the Baba Vivek says, you cannot really refute or negate the otherness of the cause and effect. So they are different. And then the and the Chandrakirti comes after the Baba Vivek, and Chandrakirti is, rejects the Baba Vivek's standpoint. Buddha Palita, Baba Vivek, and Chandrakirti. Some ordinary people says, Chandrakirti was the this is Buddha Palita is the belongs to the family, that middle class family, and so some people says that he's like the low class, but his knowledge is very good. So Baba Vivek is from the royal family. So when he made the argument, the Buddha Palita did not really kind of rebuttal to the Baba Vivek's the argument, because he just quiet. And the Chandrakirti comes, and he's too from the royal family. So I don't know why. In the pictures there are Buddha Palita, Baba Vivek, and Chandrakirti, and what's that? Asanga, and wear the blue robe, the blue, and almost like it. Yeah, so which means a sign from the royal family. So what happened to Larry is keep moving around.
The time is very tomorrow, and they iPad, and I found it such a tiny pieces of this cake that I shared with my iPad.
So anyway, this is still kind of So the context and the manner in which worldly perspective as invalidate context and manner in which worldly perspective can invalidate. So if ordinary facts are rejected from the perspective of the worldly consensus, then this will be invalidated on the authority of every experience. So what do you think? Yeah, the bond for do you see the milk yogurt is different from the milk? Tomato is different from its seeds, and so today is different from yesterday. The days, in the sense of the day. If number two is different from number one, is independent. So, so then number two can be by itself, the number two. So without number one, how can this be number two? So if that is independent, different. So in that case, the one might ask, which is the manner in which the worldly perspective might invalidate. Now, if everyday facts, the everyday facts acknowledged and established by the world are rejected from the perspective of worldly consensus, then the standpoint of this person will be invalidated on the authority of every experience.
What do they mean by everyday facts?
Now, if everyday facts acknowledge, so everyday facts, I think it's like, so as ordinary people, we see things, we experience every day, seeing, relation of the cause and effect, sees the color, sees the smell, sees the taste, and the taste, the tactilities, and the many things that we right and wrong, bad and good, right? And happy and not happy. So everyday facts that we, we perceived and we understood. So if this whole everyday perspective, the understanding about the facts are valid with respect to the object. So if our mind is valid with respect to the everyday object, then probably we must have gained realizations of the reality. We must have overcome all the misconceptions. We must not have any misconceptions to superimpose it on the reality. Right? So fact that every day we experience, we perceive, but continuously there is misconceptions, exaggerating, underestimating all the time. So is it like, out of, deliberately are exaggerating? So because the facts and why do you really exaggerate? So we don't get paid to exaggerating, right? So if the fact is there and we get paid, then we exaggerate, right? So which this kind of, it's implying that you have facts that you are knowing the everyday facts, but you're ordinarily understanding. So very shallow understanding. You say, oh, I know, I have seen that, I smell that, I saw that, I heard that. So these are our so ordinary sentient beings, the meaning of the understanding, right? So which means every perspective of the fact that we experience, the subject itself as so no direct access to the fact. Even like very simple, the colors. So the colors, every day we see it, we perceive it, and we know it, and we can explain it, right? But if your eye consciousness has a direct access to the reality of the colors, and why sentient beings, ordinary sentient beings, why some people say color is intrinsically exists, why some people say color is, the color is independent from the eye consciousness, why some people say, color is in the form, and why everybody has no explanations of how the color really exists. So the color exists because of the space and the light and the form and the sense power. So many people, everybody who understands the color has no knowledge of it. So which means our understanding of the facts is very shallow, very ordinary understanding. So this is why we need noble wisdom. We need the noble path. So I think, it's all kind of boiled down saying that, happiness comes from, the knowledge of the fact as they are. So not knowing is the cause of suffering.
I have some kind of question about this. Just
it just struck me when people see red, it said we have a consensus what red looks like. Though we have a consensus of what red looks like, it doesn't mean you and I are seeing the same exact color.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's all these interdependent things that occur, like color blindness obviously is an example of that. But I don't completely understand this thing about seeing directly into the nature of color. For example, there's scientific experiments that suggest some colors are more calming, some are more exciting, kind of awakening, for example, make us more alert or angry. Like there's experiments with the color red in jails, what that does to people. So what I don't quite really understand is, I mean, on a relative basis, there is some kind of knowledge of color, and that kind of knowledge can be useful. But in terms of like direct, I don't know how you do even the right word, like a direct understanding of color, direct perception of color like you're talking about. I'm not sure how that is more understanding or more knowledge or that it's useful. I mean, it may be the whole general concept may be useful in deconstructing what reality is, but I'm not sure that there is I'm not quite sure how wisdom arises from all of this. Like if you can see directly into the color red with all the interdependencies. I understand how understanding interdependency is useful, but looking at a specific object like the color red, I'm not clear how that would give more wisdom. Am I being coherent or totally incoherent?
I'm not sure.
Well, we're talking about noble wisdom here.
Yeah, noble wisdom.
And we're kind of trying to understand what is the quality and the effect. What is noble wisdom? How would you describe it? And then what is the effect of having this noble wisdom? And of course, we're relating that to things like happiness, and inner peace, and not being caught up in fabrications that have no ultimate reality, and how noble wisdom connects with emptiness and what emptiness means, right? I mean, generally speaking, that's what we're trying to understand. I don't know whether some kind of direct perception of any given object, I mean, past recognizing that there's almost infinite interdependencies. I'm not sure beyond that what we generally learn from that or why that leads to wisdom. That's kind of what I'm asking.
Okay, I got it.
I think here here's the wisdom and the message. The wisdom here is noble wisdoms, the way it sees things, like for example, a color. So noble wisdom understands there is no such color that is inherent in the light or the space or the sense power or the form, but altogether relatively. So there is illusion like a color, optical illusion like colors that exist. This is how noble wisdom sees, because there is no solid concrete color that exists by itself. Now, so what is suggesting us, it means the ordinary, we claim that I saw the color, I know the colors, and that is just, it appears to you, and you have witnessed it, and you have experienced it, and this is only kind of what we can base for claiming I have knowledge of color. Other than that, we have no ideas. The color is like optical illusion, right? So in this way, every phenomenon appears to us is something solid and concrete by itself that appears to the ordinary sentient beings. But we can always claim that I understand that because we have experienced it, we saw it. The seeing and witnessing is not necessarily you understood how that thing has existed. So here they're saying, because you see everything, anything that you experience or you witness, and you assume or you just claim that that is something independent and intrinsic. So that's kind of become the misconceptions that is strongly conceiving with every object that you experience. Your misconceptions always sees that is a very intrinsic and intrinsic and independent nature. So, and that gives the opens the kind of access for the emotional to cling on, because your thought says everything is intrinsic and independent. If you're angry, yes, you have right to angry. It is there. So what you see is not like illusion. It is truly exists by itself. And for the anger and attachments, have a really, what we call strengthened by these misconceptions, and then it clings on every object. So, the ordinary way of just, something that appears to you is you are not knowing everything about that things. So, I think, going back to the colors, again, the color, the ordinary people sees, colors they see with my eye. I witnessed it. I saw it. These colors that I see is a solid and intrinsic. Because always I saw it with my naked eye. This is their best claim. And then when we examine the color itself, and the color has never found to be existing, there's no way you can prove that the color is something contact with the eye sense power. Like your clothes touch your skin, like color is not really touching to the sense power. It is not there in the sense power. And the color is without a sense power, color is not there out there in the form, in the light, in the space. So nowhere the color exists. Now this is like, the, Tibeta women's. It's like a conjure. Magicians created conjure. So the color is just magicianally it exists
from the contact of many factors like light and space, sometimes, if there's no space enough, you don't see that thing. Like, if there's 5 foot or 10 foot, 15 foot, at 15 feet, there's any objects out there you could not see because of the space. And then 1,000 miles in the sun and moon, and it's very clear to you. Right? So the space is one of the factors to have the access to see the shape of the color. So, and color is not it's not a property of the space. It is not inherent in the space. It's not property of the space. Color is also not independently part of the light, not part of the form, not part of the sense part. So there's, existing the color is, again, like a mirror image. So the image, the reflections that you see in the mirror are not physically touched with the mirror. Mirror and the mirror image are not two physical things they contact. If two physical things to contact means it's separable. You can divide it, you can, cut it into two. There is no possible. The color can substantially exist. If the color is not the reflection does not substantially exist, how can it physically contact, touch the sense part? So in this way, there is no way you can find the color existing, right? Color not existing in this way means not the property of the space, not space and light, not the form, not the sense power. But altogether, yes, there's the color to see. So the ordinary sentient beings with eye consciousness, experiencing the color, they claim, I understand the color. If this knowledge of understanding the color has the direct access to the reality of the color, then why do you need the noble eye? So you have, wisdom that is understand reality as it is. So this saying, noble eye, noble wisdoms, noble path is, it is necessary in order for you to, free your mind. So right now, our mind, our consciousness, there's the object appears to us, but you don't understand the nature of the object. So not understanding the nature of the object is the ignorance, not knowing. Not knowing is the, not knowing is the platform for exaggerations and annihilations. So when you do not know and then you exaggerate or you deny it. So exaggerating and the denying is the, very delicious food for the emotional, So that instantly it is energized the emotionals. So the emotionals binds you, or binds your mind. So the overpowering you. So that's called samsara, Okay?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good. So I think that's why So lumbu temariba mayenos, lumbu temariba mayenos. So I think lumbu temariba mayenos. Yet it's wrong to take the foolish mind as valid as well. So that is lumbus, So in English they translate as foolish. Sometimes foolish. Is there a difference of foolish and adult?
Adult. Oh, like if someone's adult.
Yeah.
So maybe you could do something foolish in a moment.
Yeah, you can do foolish because of your adult mind.
You could,
Right.
yeah.
So,
You could.
so it's lumbu is more like adult, not knowing things as they are. So this not knowing as this, the adult mind cannot be valid as well. So this is why, to improve this adult mind to the wisdom, to intelligence. So you need the noble wisdom. So for the noble wisdom, you need the noble path.
Yeah, I think the word dull, I think you've clarified something. I think it's a much better word now when I see what you're getting at. Foolish kind of means I mean, it does mean you don't see things as they are. You come to incorrect conclusions, very incorrect conclusions, because you only see things at a very superficial level, And dull, dull pretty much, I guess, does mean this. I like dull better.
Yeah, that is a very good being. So, India eats a lot of dals. Yes, the red dal, yellow dal. So we should eat dal. We cannot be a dal.
Sure, I think that counts as a dad joke.
Okay, that was a bad joke. Okay. Sometimes people say going nut and eating nut. So eating nut is better than going nut. So eating dal is better than being nut. Dal. So yeah, the worldly perspective can invalidate. If everybody's everyday facts are rejected from the perspective of the worldly consensus, then this will be invalidated on the authority of everyday experience. So in that case, I have finished reading it, right? So one might ask, what is the manner in which the worldly perspective might invalidate? So what is the manner in which the worldly perspective might invalidate? Now, if everyday facts established by the world are rejected from the perspective of the worldly consensus, so then this person will be invalidated on the authority of everyday experience. Yeah. So I think they try to, the translate for the end. Namgun Jigdens, Namguns, they translate as everyday. They connect number kunde jiden, number kunde tamji tonga tsema member teachers. So I think I'm not sure this is really every day. So namgun jiden tse means and namgun jiden tse means so if everyday facts are rejected from the perspective of the worldly concept, namgun jiden tse means namgun is namgun means every aspect. So every aspect, So the ordinary sentient beings, ordinary perspective, like for example, eye consciousness, is kind of relatively it is the valid to the color itself, but it is not valid in every aspect of the color. Number kunde, tamjin jidin someone member teachers, and I don't know why this is every day. So in every aspect, yes.
They're talking about just the ordinary consensual reality.
Yeah. So ordinary consent, like existing of the color, the smell, the taste, and then in the ordinary realities, the farmers, they understand the relation of the cause and effect. This seed will give rise this kind of sprout. This sprout will be better because of this seed has some chemical or some fertilizers. So they predict this may happen. So they understand the relation of the cause and effect. So this is but we understand the relation of the cause and effect, but the ordinary perspective or ordinary perceptions has no access to see the every aspect of that relations.
Because it feels like it goes back to like how scientifically they can understand, this color happens because the light comes in and hits this, and it seems like the wording explains it, but it like you say, like explains cause and effect in that way, but it almost shifts it onto another object. It says, it happens because of this. And then, this thing also is made because of this. And then it keeps going further and further. So I don't know if it's almost making me feel like it's like a wording thing where like the language-wise, it recognizes it. But it still says there's another object.
So you understand the very shallow kind of, shallow, right? The part of that thing, but you have no knowledge of many of that aspect. So because there's many blind spots, so then there is a kind of, it opens the avenue for the misconceptions to exaggerate. So ordinary perceptions is understand one thing and many blind spots. So noble wisdoms, noble eye means sees as it is. There is no blind spot. Right? So that's why, so noble wisdom is necessary, or it is required in order for attain the nirvana or the arhats. So now, in this school, so 4 schools of Buddhist thought, like Swatantika school, minority schools, and Vabhashika schools, they are not ready to accept. So the otherness, the otherness of the cause and effect is exaggerations, superimpositions. They are not ready to accept that. So if you are not ready, if you're not ready to accept, there is no otherness of the cause and effect. And then, so that is one of the blind spot. So you see this blind spot is you think is the truth. You assert, I know that. So not knowing is you kind of claim this is the knowledge. So that means, Siddhantic school, with Siddhantic school point of view, philosophical point of view, Vairāgika school point of view, and this is not going to help you to find the path, or it is not the path that leads to the liberation in life. So, like in non-Buddhist schools, they're claiming for Atma or permanent eyes, because this is also based on not knowing. So you do not know the self of the person is, different from, and you do not know self of the person is. You say the self, the person is not one with or not identical with the body, not identical with feeling, not identical with emotions, not identical with each perceptions. Therefore, you says has to be independent. So you don't really check both sides. So one side you show, oh, I'm not the body, I'm not the feeling, I'm not the I consciousness, nose consciousness. Therefore, I must be independent from the aggregates, right? So if this is how you kind of, conclude the knowledge, so you haven't really checked. If, hypothetically, if there is self or the persons, the independent from the body, so then this independent body, the person is like almost like, this person and his body like a cow and cow's owner, and a car and the car's driver. So the car driver can leave the car and he can go away. And cow's owner can sell up the car and he can buy, horse. So if the self of a person is independent from the body, and this self of the person should exist by itself independently without the body. So then, if that is the country, if that is the case, then you can go anywhere without body. So you say the body is the obstacles. So therefore, I cannot go to India. So without the body, anytime, you just, wait a minute, 5 minutes, I'll come back. So just go to So yeah, this is not knowing, not knowing or kind of those blind spots. So that's the kind of, how's that, cause for the exaggerations. So non-Buddhist school also kind of, says that there is the creator. And then why? It's because this is, you see, everything is functioning. Trees, the rivers, the fires, mountains, the animals, there's each has different functions. And who really did that? There must be the agent who is the responsible for functioning for all things. Why this beans is round? Why this horseradish is long? Why thorn has a sharp tip, right? So they think, oh, it's because you want to know there's one single cause who is responsible for all everything that is a difference, everything that is, they happen to be, exist separately and functioning separately. So that not knowing, or that not knowing is, not knowing of the one single cause, is your basis to create the God, to create the creator.
This is kind of very mysterious to me. When I had shingles, the first time I had it, I literally got up and tried to outrun my body, to leave my body. I thought intuitively I could leave
you came here to have tea. You said, you told me that, I let my shingles.
But the other thing that kind of happens sometimes when people have excruciating pain, they disconnect from their body. They lose consciousness. They can completely lose consciousness, or sometimes they can become psychotic from the pain is so
some people
extreme.
suicide,
They have to disconnect. So I don't know if there's certain conditions coming together. I mean, I think it must obviously be true that people leave their body. They die. They die. So then what are they after they leave their body? I mean, this is kind of very mysterious to me because on the one hand, we seem to be our body. On the other hand, there seem certain conditions. On some level, something disconnects from the body. And when it disconnects, that almost sounds like the owner of your body, the owner of your feelings. And at some point, your circuits can be blown and you literally leave your body behind, either in a coma or by death. But then you have to ask, what is it that leaves the body at that point? So it's hard to say whether there is something that has some identity beyond the body. I think it's hard for me. Like you can say the continuity beyond life seems to have retain a former identity, and with some incarnates, they can presumably see their past lives, even though they're not that person anymore. So it's kind of very mysterious.
Yeah, if that is not that person, and how can that person become independent? So this self, the human being, is no independent from the human body, right? Human being is no independent from the human perceptions, human emotions. So there is no independent human being, that is being physically different from the human body. Now, when this human being, ceased to exist, after having died of the body, and is no longer a human being, still you cannot consider there is human being that independent from his body. So when he died, he, born in the next life as a God being. So that God being is not a human being. So this God being is born as a result of the death of that previous human being. Right. So there is no independence. There is no independent self. Right. So, in the sutras, so they're saying when there is a seed, when there is a barley seed, when there's a barley seed, there will be barley sprout. Barley seed, which is not identical with the barley sprout. And the barley sprout is no different from the barley seed, not the barley seed. So therefore, you say there is nothing permanent and nothing dissipations. So nothing dissipations means when the seed ceases to exist, they turn into the sprout.
as a sprout manifest. So it's nothing dissipating. The seed ceased, and because of that, and sprout happened. So sprout is happening, because of the seed has ceased. So the cessation of the seed or the end of the seed is not a dissipation. And then seed cease, therefore, it turned into or become the sprout. So therefore, seed is impermanent. No permanent, no dissipation.
I have trouble with this dissipation thing because it seems to me that there is a energetic transformation. There, of course, there's other things. It's not the sole cause of the sprout, but the energy that was as a kind of it was a potential in the seed. The transformation of that energy seems to involve some process of dissipation and transformation with a lot of other causes and conditions, of course.
Yeah, I think there's many examples you can see when you go to the river, you throw the flat rock, right? So the rocks jumps, right? Anyways, so now the question is, that rocks, they continuously jumping, how's that? On the surface. So is it the rock is doing by itself, or there's the force? If there's the force, again, it is the force of your hand, or something to do with the water, the solidity of the water. So that this together, there's the force of the hand that kind of that throws that stone, and again there's another force, the surface of the water, and together it continuously moves, right? And then the what is yeah. First, the 3 examples now. So, and then this is like the California mountains, and then in December and in January and in November. I think it's in December, right? So there's a rain, and then autumn there's a grass, the green grass. Then February, March, May, totally, it's dried up and turned yellow, and then fire comes, destroy everything. So again, the next time when there's a rain, and then again there's has that green grass coming. So are these green grass are continuity of the one that has already burned? So during that time, the many months, so who is keeping those energy, the continuities? What is that thing? So when you see the stone that you throw on the surface of hitting on the surface of the water, continuously moving, we can understand there's the force from the hand, there's the force from the surface of the water. Now, this grass has dried up and burned for 5 months or 6 months ago. Now there's new coming. And are we ready to say this is totally independent rise, or it is the continuity of the one that has burned out, right? Burned down and 6 months ago. So if that is the result, it is the continuity of that. And during the 6 months, so where this continues to remain. So, they say, previous lives, one
person died in the past life, and this life is born, and this life dies maybe after 2 years, 3 years, some may 7 years to born. So if there's a continuity, the force, some kind of energy, the physical things that is what you call it, it's ethers, that carries the continue, then it's very difficult to say there's a continuity. Because to continuity, there must be something physically moving, and something has to be carry or kind of hold that continuity. So the continuity here is not require any physical force for the previous life to this life. So this life, any experience of the positive result or negative results as a consequence of the action that is committed in the past life, that may be 50, years ago or something, right? So this still, because of that, specific karma, when there is the proper condition to give birth for that seed, you can experience the consequences of that. So there's still, this is also considered to be continuity. So, the continuity is not necessarily everything that witnessed by sensual perceptions, and you can, some people, like King Ajaysattu. So from the birth, when he was, very small child, he was strong resentment towards his father. So no reason, when he was in the mother's stomach, and mother also get angry with father. That much, force, kind of negative force towards the fathers. So then, this kind of, the what called the continuity of the hatefulness. So this is in the previous life, in this boy's previous life, Ajaysattu's previous, he was a saint meditating. And this, king, what's his name? His father, the king. So he was very youth, very young, and he went to the hunting, Then he accidentally killed that, the saint. So he was doing some miracle activities. So he thought this is the dare. He just killed it. And then this saint says, he kind of, he confesses, the king confesses, the young king, but he says, so you did very, very, negative karma. So I was trying to attain some certain level, but you killed me. Now I'm going to die. And next life, I will born as your son, and I will, take your life. He took that pledge. So then the saint was born as a son of the king. So no reason, he just simply disliked the fathers very much. Even the mothers, when he was in the mother's stomach, the mother has some kind of hatefulness towards the fathers. So there is the continuities, right? The continuity of the force of that hatefulness. So the continuity is in the habit, in the mind stream. So there is no physical, the ether that carries the continuities. So the continuity of the pebbles that jumps on the surface of water, there is physically you can see, at the surface of water is one of the reasons that carries the continuity. So what I'm saying is when human being died and leave the body, and go to the next life, that is not the proof of a human being can be independently exist apart from the body. Because he is no longer a human being. Right? So the non-Buddhist schools thinks there is the self, a person that is independent from the body, feeling, independent from the five aggregates. Because there's the reason, only reason is that person is not the body, that person is not the feeling. That's only reasons. It's not complete reason. It's incomplete reason to to view this independent self. So in this year, like when there is a seed, there will be sprout, and the very seed that is not identical with the sprout that has born is no different from the seed, and it is not identical. So that's how this is why this is no permanent, no dissipations. So you can see where is no dissipations, because the end of the seed is not the end, and not the end. End of the seed is not the end. So end of the seed is not the end, because that end is become that very moment if the sprout has manifested. So I said that many times, right? It is not the END, it's the AND. So the end of the seed is AND, because very end, that moment as the sprout has manifested. And the death of this life is not the END, it is the end, and the next life is born.
What was your exact wording? Your exact wording was no dissipation, no
permanent. Yeah. So so no dissipation, no permanent. So that, I think, from that we can understand there's a continuity, but things always disintegrating, but continuously existing. So the continued, because of the no dissipation, the permanent gives you the knowledge of, anything that is already past is not going to continue. But there is the result, that is the continue of one that has passed. So I think, some people, they conceive the continuities. Continuity means, this thing, if it continues, this very thing has to go continuously. If the result is continued from the past, this must have sometime it exists there. It's coming from there. So no present is coming from the past, but still is the continuity of the past. I think this, the non-Buddhist schools, even the, Sotanic schools, probably they don't really, realize this dependent arising. So this is how Sotanic school always kind of assert the past and the future is non-existence. So the only existing is the present. So they think existing means, the present they see is something, accessible, directly accessible. If things exist, it has to be presently accessible, which means for them is the present has to be substantial. But the past and the future is not substantial, therefore is non-existence. So I think, yesterday's past is Prasangic school, it is existing because it's relatively, because of the present. Present is the what do you call it?
present is the sign of the past had exist, and the present is also the proof of one that had born in the past is no longer existing. So present is the factors that is proving the existing of the past. So the Pasangic school says existing means relatively. So the past is relatively exist. The future is relatively exist. The present year is relatively exist. So present minute is not substantial, but relatively exist. The present is always based on the past and the future. So how much you are combining the past and futures. If you combine, put together whole 12 months, and then you impose this as the present year. So all 12 months are either past or the futures. So the present is existing based on the past and the futures. So the past exists because of the present. Future exists because of the present. Present again depending on the past and the futures. So that's why it's a relatively. Only way to exist is relatively. Because one that has passed, or that has passed, or one that has passed is not going to continue. Right? What has died is not continue, but because of the death of that, and this type of things happen. So that that effect or that result is the continuity of one that has passed. So it is continuous, still exists. So this is the this is the basis for the Pasangic school says the effect is no different from the cause. Right? Today I have a hard time reading because I did not do the homework. So I still don't know. So what is the everyday? What is the everyday facts? And then I noticed every aspect, everything or every aspect. So this was translating everyday facts. So very confused. Sorry for not doing homework.
I mean, I did ask for everyday facts. So
Yeah. So Logan reminds me. So the Guru Logan's, taught me. So I think, here, the otherness, the Prasangic school continues the, negating the otherness of the cause and effect, otherness of the, designative and its basis. Designated native means the self and the aggregates. Aggregates the basis. The self or person is the designative entity. So these two are not, there's no otherness. Self is no different from the aggregates. Aggregates are no different from the self. And the nations and the people, individuals. And there is no otherness. Countries and the, the citizens are forest and their trees.
a garden and the flowers. So there is a separations, distinctive, separate things, entity, but no different at all. The garden is no different from each flowers. A forest is no different from each trees. A nation is no different from each individual. So, but conceptually distinctive, separate phenomena. This we can understand. Yeah. So the non-Buddhist schools and many ordinary things, everything that is conceptually distinct as the different as an apple and orange. Apple and orange, the physical difference is not just conceptually distincted. So every separate is, if every separations are physically separate, then your hat and your size of the hat, and the leaf and the color of the leaf, and leaf and the shape of the leaf, all has to be different. So if you don't like the shape of the leaf, you can just take the shape and just keep the leaf. Or you don't like your size of the hat, your size, just take it out, keep the hat. So there is no physically different. But conceptually, from the linguistically, it's always constructing the two separate phenomena. So maybe keep this in Geshe Ribedo, there's the sutras. When there is a seed, there will be sprout. The very seed is not identical with the sprout. Sprout is no different from the seed, and not the seed itself. So that means no permanent, no dissipation.
I think one of the things that sometimes confuses me is when you do have the apple and orange,
Yeah.
and how they are physically separate and also different, and how sometimes that seems like it makes it seem like, oh well, they are like intrinsically like different from another because one's an apple and one's an orange. But I think the reason that keeps coming back for that is that when you analyze,
the apple and orange are physically different,
right,
or substantially different, but not intrinsic. Their difference not intrinsic. So table is different from the computer. Computer is different from the table, but table is not independent and different from the table. If independent and different, without the table, in the computer should be found as different. Computer is the different because of the table, so that differential is no independent. Yeah, sometimes people, discriminations. So they kind of, emotionally detach anything that is different from, from this type of people. So people say, oh, we don't like those different people. So if they can remove, they can delete all the different. So that different persons, without them, can you find no different? So you can find another different. Right? So if you find, for example, if the computer is found to be different from the table that you don't like, the table is different from the computer, and then you can destroy the table or you just give it to the other. But still, tomorrow again, you find this computer is different from that computer. You find this computer is different from that chair. So how many times you want to go against the different? So different is, if you don't like different, so you are the one of the reason that is different. So if you don't exist, you don't find you are different from others. If the computer does not exist, there is no computer different from the table. But yeah. So this the ordinary perceptions. We understand the difference. We understand the colors. We understand the relations. We understand almost all of them. But we have, because of this understanding, this knowledge, and we have, countless or kind of, limitless the misconceptions. So now the question is, if those understandings are valid reasoning, valid cognitions, how can you have these misconceptions? So it's like, I understand this, and also I'm kidding about understanding of that. So I'm not serious. Yeah. Shall we stop here? Chanju Simjo Rinpoche, Maje Bana, Gejuji, Jevanyamba, Mevanya, Kono Kondo, Pebrisho, Tony Tawa Rinpoche, Maje Bana, Gejuji, Jevanyamba, Mevanya, Kono Kondo, Pebrisho, Pama Simjan, Dada, Denjuji, and Rotan, Tato Toma, Chanju Simba, Kana Sushi, Tadago, Molum Jojo, Carrera Vego, Shimas, Penda, the woman, the Jovene, Jerezava, Tinzi, Jazu, Shabba, Sideba,
May the precious body mind, I get born, rise and grow. May the body multiply and increase forevermore. May the precious mind, realizing emptiness, I get born, rise and grow. May the body multiply and increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. How powerful Chandrakirti and Jutsu, remaining in this world into samsara.
Thank you very much.